Addressables take control of your asset memory management. Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of the Unity Performance Task Force podcast. I'm your host, Ruben from TheGameDev.Guru, and as usual, I'll kick things off with a question for you. Have you ever read a review like this? What the hell is wrong with this game? Stupid controls, too much space on phone memory, makes your phone freeze in seconds. Sounds familiar? If so, this episode is for you. If you've ever dealt with reviews like that, I'm sure the developers who weren't using addressables, or if they weren't using them the right way. Your users should be your main point of concern, but you should also care about yourself and your colleagues. Addressables are going to help you with loading times, iteration times, and all the things people mention so often nowadays. There are two main reasons you want to use addressables. First, you want control over asset memory management. More control means more tools at your disposal. You can lower memory usage, lower loading times, and lower crashes. That's useful for your users. But even if you don't care about players, you might care about yourself, right? We all hate waiting when we deploy a new build. Addressables help with that. Second, asset distribution. Addressables let you distribute assets through CDNs. You upload them to a server, and your players, or even you, can download those assets from a CDN. This is especially useful for improving iteration times. You can update assets without making an entire build. You don't have to go through app reviews, wait for users to get the latest version, or sign APKs. You just upload new assets to the server, and boom, clients fetch them. The end goal? Make your users happy and make yourself and your team happy. So, what are addressables? Addressables is an official Unity package you download through the package manager. It gives you control over asset memory management, how you load stuff into RAM and how you unload stuff out of RAM. By stuff, I mean assets, meshes, particle effects, sprites, audio clips, whatever you have in the build. Addressables work thanks to indirect references. If you do it the normal way, the default Unity way, you have direct references, which means everything is loaded and unloaded as soon as Unity decides it's time. Usually, that's when the reference appears in any graph of the scene. With addressables, you decide whether to deliver assets with the APK or on a remote server. This lets you reduce package size. Smaller size means less download time, which means users are more likely to stick around. Addressables are highly based on asset bundles. Asset bundles are like zip files that let you pack assets. You can upload them, download them, extract one file, load it into your game, and more. They also include versioning information. Now the components of addressables. First, the addressables database. This is just a collection of metadata related to the assets you want to deliver. For example, the key or identifier for your assets, information about how to load them, and catalogs that tell you where assets are located. Second, the build process. Once you have the database, you want to build addressable asset bundles. Third, the API calls. You'll use these in your code to load and unload assets. Fourth, in-editor tools. Unity gives you a profiler and other tools to inspect and debug addressables. How do you use addressables? First, set up addressables. Download the package with the package manager. Initialize the database by going to Window, Asset Management, Addressables, and clicking Groups. Second, mark assets as addressable. This tells Unity, hey, don't treat this like a direct reference. I want to load this asset whenever I decide it's time. For example, if you're supporting different languages, you don't want English, French, and Spanish loaded at the same time. You want one language loaded at once. Mark assets as addressable by inspecting them and ticking the addressable checkbox. Optionally, assign a group, tag, and name. Third, use the API. The basic workflow: declare an asset reference in a metagen tow. For example, In a language manager, you might have a list of languages, each as an asset reference. Assign the references in the inspector by dragging and dropping addressable assets. Fourth, call addressables initialize async. This is optional, Unity does it for you if you don't, but it's good practice because you control when frame hiccups happen. Fifth, load, use, and release. If you have an asset reference called load asset async on it, yield on the operation, use the asset, then call release asset. For example, if it's an audio clip, load it, assign it to an audio source, play it, wait for it to finish, then release it. You can also load by address using addressables.loadAssetAsync and passing a string key. Or use instantiate async for prefabs, which loads and instantiates the prefab. When you're done, call release instance. For scenes, use addressables.loadAssetAsync and unload scene async. Scenes are great with addressables because they handle dependencies automatically. If you put a car model in a scene and mark the scene as addressable, the final asset bundle contains both the scene and the car. Super cool. Sixth, concepts. Groups, labels, and remote distribution. Groups are collections of addressable assets. One group usually ends up being one asset bundle. Put assets that are loaded and unloaded together at the same time in the same group. For example, put English in one group, Spanish in another. Don't put all languages in the same group because you don't load them all at once. Labels are like tags. You can perform bulk operations like loading all assets with a specific label or downloading all assets with a tag from the server. Remote distribution. If you want to distribute assets remotely, set up remote settings in Addressables profiles. Define the remote build path where Unity builds asset bundles and the remote load path, the server URL where clients fetch files. Build your addressables, then upload the results to your CDN or server. Set groups to build to the remote build path and load from the remote load path. For versioning, enable build remote catalog in addressable settings. Every time you build addressables, Unity generates a remote catalog you upload to your CDN. This catalog tells clients where to fetch the right versions of assets. When you want to update assets, make your changes and use update previous build instead of new build. Upload that to the CDN. Now when clients launch the app, they fetch the catalog, see there's a new version, and download it. Usually, this happens once per application lifetime the first time you load an asset. One important thing. Add the addressable assets data Windows or platform-specific folder to version control. Otherwise, you can't do update previous build. You'll have to do a full build and full package build. That's no fun. Now let's play with the source code. You can import addressables, open your project with Rider or Visual Studio, and navigate to Packages, Read-Only Addressables. The runtime folder is where the magic happens. Check out resource providers. That's where you'll learn how addressables works internally. Here's my secret for learning any technology. Read the source code and add breakpoints. Trigger your operations like loading an asset, and Unity will hit your breakpoint in the IDE. Step through the call stack and see who's calling what and why. This is one of the fastest ways to learn. It might take 10 or 20 hours, but you'll become the boss of addressables. Some key areas to visit. Resource locators find assets. They tell you where an asset is located in a CDN, locally, around the corner, hidden in your bookshelf. Resource providers fetch assets. For example, Asset Bundle Provider fetches asset bundles. If the bundle is local, it uses load-fide load async. If it's remote, it uses Unity onCrate. Reference counting tracks whether an asset is alive or not. If it's not alive, Unity can unload it. Check async operation handle for increment reference count and decrement reference count. Put breakpoints there and see where the party is happening. So, to sum up, addressables give you control over memory management and asset distribution. They reduce loading times, memory usage, crashes, and iteration times. They're desperately looking for adoption. If your project can benefit, give them a try. You don't have to commit 100%. Start with a few assets and see how it goes. For documentation, check the official Unity docs and my course on addressables. It's one of the most comprehensive resources out there, covering remote loading, grouping patterns for video, music and audio, and more. If you found this podcast episode useful, you can access in-depth lessons in the Unity Performance Task Force program at www.performancetaskforce.com. And if Unity consulting is what you are after, book a free discovery call at https://consulting.thegamedev.guru. Till next time.